Coming to you direct from Silencer Shop Studios, home of the Glass Case of Emotion.
SilencerShop.com, the easiest way to buy silencers online, period.
Stand by for education, enlightenment, enjoyment, and entertainment.
He's not here to talk about your feelings. He's not here to say what you want to hear. He's here to say what needs to be said.
Ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, please welcome your host, the pimp hand of America, Professor Paul Markle.
Yes, indeed, it is I, and welcome back to Student of the Gun Radio. I hope you guys enjoyed yesterday's show. It was interesting to us to put that show up because it was a best of, obviously. I listened to it. I actually listened to the first 10, 15 minutes or so, I guess 10 minutes or so of it. And it sounded good from my end. But what's interesting, to me at least, is the show that we're producing, the material that we're producing, is relevant regardless. It's essentially evergreen. The things that I was talking about during the show and the topics we discussed were just as, and that was an episode from 2015. They're just as pertinent today as they were when we first did it. Does it seem strange to you to listen to it, Zach, without the Alex and Jared doing the intro and the applause and stuff?
Yeah, when I was scheduling it, I listened to the audio before I make the actual episode. I was worried that I'd selected the wrong one because I didn't hear Alex talking. I thought it was a grad program hour at first.
Yeah, and I'm sure it kind of threw some people for a loop this morning because they just instinctively click it and start playing, and they're like, hey. Well, the only people that know the difference are the grad program people. Regular people, like public hour people, don't know that the intro is different on Friday. Isn't that correct, Jared?
Yep. And they're also not going to be able to know for a couple weeks. But you know what's funny is that if you have an Amazon Alexa, I was hip to this by Alex Keeney. He's like, hey, if you just wake up in the morning and you tell your Alexa to play Student of the Gun Radio, it'll play. And it finds,
so
yeah.
It starts playing like it's your alarm clock, or?
No, it just starts playing like when you wake up, you say, hey, Alexa, play Student of the Gun Radio, and it just starts playing.
Oh, so is Alexa like Siri?
Yeah.
Okay.
But way more powerful and more intrusive.
Like Jarvis.
Yeah, Jarvis.
Say.
Yeah.
Like a Jarvis, yeah.
It's like a big cylinder that sits in the middle of your living room and spies on you.
Yeah.
Ah, is that what that is?
Yep.
Okay. I don't think I need that in my life. I need actually less in my life. This weekend was a long weekend. I did a DuraCoat project that I'm going to discuss in detail tomorrow. I went out and took my rifle for a walk. I went out Sunday afternoon, I guess it was, Sunday evening. And I went and walked around, parked the truck and out in the BLM land out there and walked a couple of miles. Didn't really see anything. I saw a couple of prairie dogs, and that was it. I was surprised. Usually when I go out to this same area, I'll see, jackrabbits or something, and didn't see anything this time, but it's okay. It's all right. I think part of the reason why is because a lot of the animals out here are nocturnal. Like jackrabbits are nocturnal. A lot of the predators are nocturnal. Right now, I believe all the coyotes are pretty much functioning in a nocturnal fashion. And it was, if you guys went outside, if you looked at the moon this weekend, it was big and bright. And at least Sunday night, I know it was orange as it was coming up here in Wyoming. So when you get a full bright moon, a lot of the animals don't even move around during the daytime. And it is kind of warm still up here. It's getting up into the mid 80s during the day. So any of you hunters out there, you know that when it's hot in the daytime, the animals just lay up. They don't even move. They just hang out. So, but it was interesting. I got myself some exercise, took my rifle for a walk. My rifle always likes it when I take it for a walk. What else did we do this weekend? Well, we did, I did the flash report that's going to be available today, as in Tuesday. This Tuesday afternoon. If you guys are not keeping up with Student of the Gun, if you haven't signed up for the free newsletter, you're not following us on Facebook. If you're not following us on Facebook, you're not signed up for the free newsletter, you're not a member of the grad program, I'm not sure how we're supposed to reach you. But anyway, I can tell you this, that there's going to be a brand new flash report that goes up today, and you're going to want to make sure to read it. Who did I talk to this weekend? I'm thinking, who did I talk? Oh, I talked to your Uncle Dave Biggers, Jared.
How's he doing?
He's doing well. He's getting ready to move, and Dave is actually not his biological uncle. We just call him Uncle Dave, but yeah, he's getting ready to take a job with Samson Manufacturing. Oops. Is that public? I guess it is now. I think it is. Anyway, long story short, it was a relatively relaxing weekend for us. Nancy's been decorating the house. She's like color matching and stuff now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a piece of furniture in the living room that has to go because the wood isn't the proper dark enough color. It needs to be darker.
Oh,
and it's like, yeah.
Hey, did that piece of furniture that I got her come in?
No.
It did not?
No.
Huh.
All right, that's the crazy thing is we ordered two separate pieces, right? Yours was supposed to be delivered before the one that I ordered.
Yeah.
Mine got delivered the day yours was supposed to be ordered. And
interesting.
Yours didn't.
So it's still not there. All right. Well, I'm going to have to
note to self, track that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on a mule train. I did some tracking actually, and the one firearm that I recently ordered is sitting on. I tracked it this morning or yesterday, and it said on truck out for delivery. So I guess this afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, we'd go over and pick it up. It should be there. But enough about that. Is my voice soothing enough for you guys? Is it soothing enough? I try and be soothing. Well, today's Tuesday, and as you know, or you should know if you've been listening for more than a week or two, every single Tuesday we do a Quiet Time. And Quiet Time is brought to you by our good friends at silencershop.com.
Meet Sid. Sid doesn't text back. Sid does simplify suppressor ownership. Meet Sid, the new interactive kiosk that makes the fingerprinting and paperwork of silencer applications quick, easy, and pain-free. If you're ready to own a silencer, make time to meet Sid, your new buddy in the silencer business. Available at selected Powered by Silencer Shop retailers.
All right. If that music, if the Bob Ross, the Joy of Painting music, if that doesn't put you in the mood, well, I don't know what will. I think I mentioned it last week that I was going to do this. Well, regardless, this is what's going to happen. Recently, I received a gift. I received a gift of cigars and a book. And if you have a man in your life, or if you have a mature, I shouldn't say a man in your life because everyone has a man in their life. If you have a mature male role model type figure in your life, just a piece of advice, a good gift for that person would be the gift of cigars or the gift of a book. And when you combine them, bingo, bango, good gift. Now, the book is called The Tyranny of Cliches by Jonah Goldberg. And you're like, Jonah Goldberg, I know that name. Yes, you do. Because Jonah Goldberg is also the man who wrote the book Liberal Fascism, The Secret History of the American Left. And the full title of The Tyranny of Cliches is Tyranny of Cliches, How Liberals Cheat in the War of Ideas. Now, full disclosure, I have not finished the book yet. I'm about a little less than halfway through the book at this point in time. But I can tell you, based upon what I've read so far, that I will recommend this book to you. And one of the things that struck me about the book is it shines the light right back on you, the reader, or it makes you look into a mirror and be honest with yourself and ask yourself, how often have you fallen for or repeated these tired, old, pointless cliches? Now, a cliche is something that's kind of a mental softball. It's something that we say, that we do, so that we don't have to think anymore. And, such as, well, it is what it is. And I've been guilty of saying that myself, and I'm sure the vast majority of you probably have been. But if we're intellectually honest with ourselves, if we say, well, why is it that we either A, accept cliches as arguments or reasons, or why do we use them ourselves? Well, if we're intellectually honest with ourselves, the reason that most of us will either accept or use a cliche in a conversation or what have you is because we don't want to invest any more time or mental energy into defending or explaining our argument or our side of view or opinion or whatever. And that is exactly what liberals do. To shut down debate, to shut down argument in order to basically close the argument. My opinion is right because blank. I throw out this cliche, right? And you can't argue with it anymore, because if you do, then you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're a homophobe, you're this, you're that, whatever. You're a supremacist, you're an extremist, because you want to debate and argue with me. And I've already given you my favorite cliche, so where do we go from here? But what you guys have to do, because you are students of the gun and because you're listening to the show, if you've taken the time to become a dedicated listener, a student of the gun, if you're doing this as an intellectual exercise, not just something to keep you from being bored or to fill time, if this is an actual intellectual exercise for you, if you're hoping to be a student for life, then every once in a while we need to take time to examine what it is we say and why it is we say it. And there are a few people in my life who have, I've witnessed them, I've overheard them shooting down cliches, or like, for instance, the "it is what it is" crowd. And I know I've been guilty of saying it, and most people have, but I actually had someone say, I hate that. I hate it when people say that because it's a cop-out. And the truth is in most circumstances, it is a cop-out. Now, is it the end of the world, or are you going to hell because you said that? No, not necessarily. But if you look at your discourse and your dialogue with your family, your friends, your coworkers, and so forth, you may find yourself, if you're honest, you may find yourself either accepting or using tired, meaningless, pointless cliches, but you just end up doing it out of what? Well, you either do it out of habit, just because that's what you've always done, or you do it as a lazy relief valve. I don't feel like investing any real serious time or energy into this, so I'm just going to punt, basically. And you and I were sitting here, and I'm sure some of you out there, and you're like, well, big deal, Paul. We don't always have to win the argument. We don't always have to be right. We don't always have to come out on top or what have you. Sometimes I don't care. And so I'm just going to walk away. And I say, yes, that's fine. But, and there always is a but, right, Jared? We like big butts, and let me tell you why.
I do, yeah.
Yeah. So the but is the same people that'll say, oh, what's the big deal? Just let them have their way. Just let them win the argument or whatever. You say, okay, but isn't that the same thing as when people who are in the gun culture or the shooting sports world say things like, I want to talk about guns, not politics, or I don't like politics, or something politics. Well, okay, that's great. It's wonderful that you don't like that, and it's wonderful that you've decided to set yourself apart, but the world keeps on turning. Politicians and people who seek to be in charge of you, who want to take your money, put it in their bank, and spend it on their pet projects, they don't care whether or not you like politics. They don't care whether or not you're tired of arguing. They don't care that you can't be bothered to deal with it. As a matter of fact, most of them would rather that you wouldn't. And that is the tyranny of cliches. What the left has figured out, what they figured out a long time ago, is if they can come up with cool cliches, then they can convince their opponents, which is the people who actually care about, this country, the United States of America, being a representative republic, a constitutional republic, then those people will just shut up and let them win the argument. You say, well, who cares? You say, who cares if they win the argument? I'm a bigger person than that. But it's not just an argument. Because if we allow the left to use their cliches to shut us down, to keep us from arguing or fighting back, if we just punt and say, okay, we don't care, have your way, do what you want. Well, what happens? You say, well, nothing happens. Oh, no, lots of things happen. What happens is the people that they elect to seats of power now listen to them. And the people that they put into seats of power, such as congressmen and senators and governors and presidents and so forth, well, then they start enacting laws based upon what? You, the person who supports the constitutional republic of the United States of America, you don't want to argue. You can't be bothered with it. You just remain silent because you've allowed yourself to either accept or be shut down by the cliches of the left-wing socialist. So whose voice do these people in Congress, Senate, Capitol Hill, and so forth, whose voice do they hear? And you're like, oh, yeah. So if I just sit over here and do nothing, then the only people that get to influence them are the left-wing socialists. So what happens? You get the state of California. Yeah, you get the state of California. You get the state of New York. You get the state of Illinois that is bankrupt. But did you guys see the latest news? Illinois is bankrupt, but they're going to declare their state to be a safe space or a sanctuary state or some kind of ridiculous nonsense. Apparently, they're just going to get their money, from the whole rest of the country. If the people who actually should care about the constitutional republic and the founding of the nation, if they decide that they don't feel like arguing or it doesn't matter or whatever, then you end up with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. You end up with New Jersey. This is what you end up with, because the good men who should be doing something, instead of doing something, are doing nothing. Because why? Well, because the left came up with a cool cliche, a cool phrase to shut them down. And so they're like, okay, well, I'll just screw it. I'm just going to go away. Your inaction has consequences. And when you allow people to dominate the argument through lies or through, silly, stupid phrases that actually have no basis in reality, but just keep getting repeated over and over and over again, then that manifests itself in what? It manifests itself in gun laws that tell you that your gun can only look like this and smell like that and hold this many bullets, and it can't have the thing that folds down, and it's no longer allowed to have because we sit out here and we're like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. A .223 cartridge coming out of the end of a muzzle it's going to do the same amount of damage if it came out of a bolt action, a pump action, a semi-automatic. That bullet's going to do the same amount of damage. It doesn't matter what the launching system looks like or smells like or feels like. You and I know that. But you know what? We don't want to argue about it because it's silly and it's stupid, and we just look at it as a joke. And so the people that we look at and we say, oh, they're too stupid to even talk to. They're too stupid to even acknowledge. Well, then we get people like Kevin De Leon, Mr. Ghost Gun. Mr. Ghost Gun, everybody on our side laughed at him, right? He's stupid. He's a joke. What a moron. What an idiot. We laughed at him when he came out and held up an AR-15 and looked at the cameras and said, this is a ghost gun, and it shoots a 30-round clip in half a second and you know, derp, derp, derp. And we all looked at him and were like, you're a blithering idiot. You're a complete moron. You are a joke. And we didn't take him seriously. And what happened? He went from being just a regular senator in the California State Senate to being the president pro tem of the Senate. By lying, by being a fool, he wasn't punished by the electors. He was elevated. He actually got a promotion. His punishment was being promoted to a higher seat of power in the government. Because why? Well, because you and I, we all said, oh, what a fool, what a buffoon. And we thought that everybody else would see the way we do. We thought that they would just see that as like a bald-faced lie, as a ridiculous obfuscation. But they didn't. Because why? Because instead of taking it seriously, instead of all of the California gun owners, the proud patriots of California, the Second Amendment defenders, instead of them, and we've been told that there are over 1 million proud gun-owning Americans living in California. We've been told that, haven't we, Jared? I mean, isn't that what people in California tell us?
Yep.
You don't understand, how many there are?
Yeah, and my question is then why is it going the way it's going? Why is it going backwards instead of forwards?
If there are millions of proud gun-owning Americans living in California, riddle me this, Batman. Why is Kevin De Leon, Mr. Ghost Gun, why is he the president of the Senate? Why did he get to push through additional restrictions? Why was he the one who pushed through the latest gun control bill? Shouldn't he been run out of the Senate as a laughingstock, as a liar? Why? Well, because the good people did nothing.
And we've talked about this before. I don't know if we've talked about it on the radio or not, but the good people do nothing because they're too wrapped up in trying to pay for the expensive house, the expensive cars, and it's not even, it's just normal cars, normal houses, but they're way more expensive. So you spend so much time working and making sure that your family is taken care of that you can't invest your time into your community and actually make sure that things are going the way that you want them to go or the way that they're supposed to be going.
There's a lot of things wrong with California. And one of the things is they're so driven by the desire. And you're like, well, everyone's driven by the desire. No, that's the thing is you got to step away from it. You really do. But they're so busy working to pay taxes that they don't have time to pay attention. So the Tyranny of Cliches, and that is the recommended reading for this week. It's available on Amazon, and because we love you, we put the direct link to purchase the book in the show notes. And today is show number 651. And you guys are slick and you're cool and you know how to work the little device in your hand. Just tap the show notes and it'll take you, or tap the show description. It'll take you directly to the show notes, and you can do that. So I'm going to stop talking about that. I'm going to sip some water, and no, I gotta thank some friends. Okay, then Alex can talk. All right, thank you to our good friends at Crossbreed Holsters, the makers of the Super Tuck Deluxe, the most comfortable inside of the waistband holster you're ever going to wear. And Crossbreed, Froglube, Century, DuraCoat, they all just gave away goodies to our recent winner. And one of the things that Crossbreed donated, they donated a Founder Series holster belt combo and a $100 gift certificate. So that's righteous. It is. Froglube, yesterday's show, Jared, this is what I listened. Remember when we did a once per week thank our sponsors thing where we acknowledge each sponsor once per week and ask people to thank them? Well, today's show was Froglube, and I reminded everyone that Froglube is actually a business that is owned by an honorably discharged and honorably retired United States military officer, a person who was a SEAL for his entire career, and that's where the frog in Froglube comes from. So if you guys were wondering, because the SEALs were originally called frogmen. Ooh, did I give you some military history right there? Yeah, I did. Froglube, it's green, it's minty fresh. It is extreme. And you can get it from Froglube.com or Brownells or your favorite dealer or wherever. I don't care. Just get some. Century Arms, the sweetest smelling arms maker in the U.S. of A. You know what I saw this weekend, Jared?
What did you see?
That the C39 V2 pistol, the version 2 pistol, the 100% made in the USA AK pistol, they're going to do a $100 mail-in I think it's a $100 manufacturer's rebate on that. And in addition to that, they put the SB47 stabilizing braces. I don't know if the sale ended yet, and if you missed it, sorry, sucks to be you, but they put them on sale at half off, 50% off. So you're like, wow, I should probably sign up for the Century Arms mailing letter or mailer or newsletter, whatever, mailing list, because if I'd have done that, I'd have known about that. There you go. See? Century Arms, you can get Century Arms products from them or Brownells, or you can go to your favorite retailer and ask for them. Do whatever you want. You're an American. DuraCoat, because life is too short to have an ugly gun. And I'm not going to take a whole bunch of time talking about it today, but tomorrow I will get into the specifics and the details about my most recent DuraCoat project. You can get DuraCoat from LauerWeaponry.com, or where else can you get it? Well, I'll tell you. There's a little company that just did a 1 penny. Did you see their 1 penny shipping?
Yeah.
Yep. Brownells just did they ran it over the Labor Day weekend. They ran it all the way through Monday, a 1 cent shipping. So all you had to do was put in the code and you got shipping for a penny, thanks to Brownells.com. And of course you can get DuraCoat products there and Froglube products and all that stuff. And ammunition and pieces and parts and components and optics and all that stuff. So now I know it's not winter yet, but it will be winter soon. And my question to you is, are you guys going to do a cold weather gun project? Let's face it. A lot of us guys in the cold months, we spend a lot of time in our shops and we save up indoor projects because when it's nice out, we want to be outside doing stuff. I mean, who wants to be sitting inside a shop when it's nice? I know I don't. I don't even want to be in this studio right now. It's really nice, but I'm here because I love you.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that you have this show. But so if you're getting ready for your winter projects, go over to Brownells, sign up to their newsletter, and I guarantee you that there will be some kind of a sale or discount going on this week, and it'll save you some money.
And I saw the pictures of that DuraCoat project you did. I don't know how you're going to wait to go shoot it because it looks so freaking awesome.
Yeah, got to let it cure for 2 weeks. Got to be disciplined. But you know what's been in the cure box for almost 2 weeks now?
The pistol and the can.
Pistol. Yeah, the pistol and the can.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I can get those suckers out.
Attention, new listeners. We produced a free training video series called 7 Training Tips That Could Save Your Life. We want you to have access to this life-saving information. Get instant access now at studentofthegun.com. Do you watch Student of the Gun TV, read the blog, and follow us on Facebook? If you answered no to any of those questions, you are wrong, but you can easily fix yourself. Go to studentofthegun.com to find everything SOTG.
Thank you, Miss Alex, for reminding everyone where they need to go and what they need to do and what they need to do when they get there. But no, seriously, if you guys have a friend or colleague or coworker or somebody that wants to know about guns or thinks they know about guns or what have you, just send them over to studentofthegun.com. And they can get started from there. Oh, deep breath time. Oh, deep breath. Because if one more person, Christian Green, Jared.
Yeah.
He put something up Sunday night. He put a little thing up on his Facebook page, and he said, if one more person sends me the Utah nurse story, I'm deleting you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start deleting people.
Yeah, I'm still getting those stories in my.
All right, now you live in Salt Lake City. You live where this went down.
Yeah.
Now, how is the local news media treating this story?
I don't know because I don't watch it.
So no one where you are is talking about it?
Nope, I haven't heard about it from anybody that I've spent time with. And like if I go to Big O's or something to get some work done on my car, it's not playing in the lobby there, so I don't really see anything about it other than the stories that have been sent to me.
No one at the gym's talking about it. No one at the coffee shop talking about it.
Nope.
Well, it's a fact, and I'm sure that if you don't know what I'm talking about, you've been living in a cave with bin Laden for the last 10 years because I know he's not in a cave.
They made a song about that, so that's
good. Yeah, I know. I couldn't track the metaphor. Long story short, it boils down to this: there is released video of a detective in Utah arresting a emergency room nurse for refusing to draw blood for him because at his request on an unconscious patient, and he demands that she do it. And she is explaining to him, and she has her supervisor on the phone, on speakerphone, telling him that per, Utah statute, per hospital policy, that she is not allowed to and she's not going to, and so forth. And so this guy, he loses it, and he tells her, "You're going to." And then she says he's not going to, and he says, "You're under arrest." And he proceeds to grab her and manhandle her. And I'm sure most of you have seen that. Now, I would hope that most of my audience is not just going to give, I've said this before, and I'll go ahead and say it again. Just because you go to the police academy, just because you get a polyester uniform and a badge, doesn't make you de facto right. You have to. And when I went through the police academy, I remember being told that every time I put on my uniform, I was on display. And I don't remember which one of my instructors, Doug, you can help me out here, but one of them said, "Look, you need to understand this. Every time you put on that uniform and go out in public, you are on display. You are being watched. You're no longer just a dude or a chick or whatever going to the grocery store." And it doesn't matter if you're even just, performing your job. If you're in the uniform and you stop to get gas, if you go to the grocery store, if you whatever, in uniform, you are on display and everyone is watching you, and you have to be more accountable for your behavior than the average person. And I remember part of the lesson was, and they said, if you are uncomfortable, this is in the academy, right? So we don't have state creds yet. We haven't taken the state certification exam and so forth. And the point was that if you are uncomfortable with that, if you don't feel like you can hold yourself to the highest standard at all times while you're in that uniform, you need to not be wearing it. If you don't think it's fair, if you don't think it's right, then go find another job, because being a police officer is not what you need to be. And with that said, just because you put on a badge and a uniform, you don't become de facto right. Every single day, you have to make the right choices. You don't just get to do whatever the hell you want, whenever the hell you want it. It's not a carte blanche to be an a-hole. So what we had here, and have I in uniform had people like disrespect me or refuse to listen to me or argue with me? Yeah, I have. And what people, the whole thing about the discussion we had in the academy is like, look, not everyone is just going to go ahead and agree with everything you say because you have a uniform on. And just because they don't agree with you, you don't get to whack them about the head and shoulders. That's what they do in third world countries.
You can do You can do verbal judo and toss them on their head, but you can't do physical harm.
I remember when I first became a police officer, and I was talking to my friend Jack McGeorge, and I was talking to him about something, and he goes, Americans have no idea. He said, you go to any other country in the world, and you tell a police officer that they're a pig or whatever. He said, you're going to meet the business end of a nightstick immediately. He said, I've been in Central America and South America and places in Europe. He said, they don't do that. He said, Americans don't realize how nice American cops are. He said for instance, I think it was Guatemala, or it was a Central American country. He said, he goes, if you'd have tried to pull that there in Central or South America, he said, you would be in a coma or they wouldn't hear from you anymore. And I remember like kind of chuckling because, you know, I thought, well, my problems are pretty small compared to that. So are we all on the same page that 99.9% of all of us who are listening right now have in some form or fashion seen this video, right? So the guy loses it. He obviously, well, okay, maybe it's not obvious to you, but it's obvious to me that he overstepped his bounds. And he became emotionally angry because she wasn't doing what he said she was supposed to do. This was not I need to arrest this person because they are a danger or a threat to someone else. It was patently obvious that he was going to put hands on her and arrest her, use physical force against her because she didn't do what he said. And it wasn't, don't get me wrong. When you come up to someone that is a suspect in a robbery or a rape or a theft or whatever, and that's the person you're looking for, and you say, turn around, put your hands behind your back, and they say, go fornicate yourself. All right. You have to place that person under arrest, not because you're not arresting them because they didn't do what you said. You're arresting them because they're a suspect in another crime. In this case, it seemed very obvious to everyone that he grabbed her, put hands on her, and was arresting her because she didn't do what he said to do. Even though she was explaining to him, this is the hospital policy, this is the state law, and this is why I'm not going to do that. He wasn't going to hear it. And you say, all right, Paul, I don't care. I've already written my Facebook comment. I've already written a comment on the YouTube video. I'm all done with that. But that's not what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about is not the bully in uniform. What I want to talk about is the video that depicts more than one. I haven't been able to come up with a complete count yet because there were at least 3 other individuals that I could see, because there's 2 different videos. There's a video of the detective's body camera, so it was a first person, and then there was a third person video where you could see everything else. I think the third person one may have been the hospital's surveillance cameras. But either way, there's more than one video available. And in the video, if you watch them, you'll see another police officer standing to what would be camera left. And then there's another guy behind him, who seems to be in a uniform. I can't tell if he's in an EMT's uniform or a police uniform. Then there's another guy who's very, very rotund, who's a very, very well-fed individual. And he's on camera right. And he looks like he's got his phone in his hand, and he's like looking down at his phone. So when this detective decides that he's had enough of her not listening to him, and he's going to grab her, twist her around, and arrest her for failing to do what he says, and I'm not even sure if that's an arrestable offense. It's probably just a misdemeanor, but whatever. I'm not in Utah. What I wanted to talk about was the people in uniform, supposedly educated good guys, right? I mean, usually when you put on a uniform, that tells the world that you have a little bit more education and training than the average person, right? I mean, it should. I don't understand that the world today that it may not, but you're supposed to be a cut above. You should know the law better. You should know what's expected of you as a law enforcement officer or a peace officer or what have you. And this is where I'm about to lose some of my fellow police officers. But if you don't agree with me, or you're going to argue with me, if you're going to argue the opposite point with me, then you need to leave and not be in the Student of the Gun audience. So close the hole under your nose. Listen up. Perk up your ears. While this guy is the detective, losing his temper, grabbing, shaking, doing all that, yelling at this woman, telling her, first of all, the detective should have been arrested for that haircut. You guys with me? Jared, are you with me? Did you see the detective's haircut?
Yeah.
He should have been arrested for that. He should be put on trial for that haircut. But other than that, we have officers, law enforcement officers, and I think the really super well-fed guy standing over looking at his phone, I think he was probably hospital security because he kind of was just like, I'm going to look at my phone here and I'm just going to pretend like I don't see what I'm seeing. But I know there were other law enforcement officers present. What did they do? Did they interject themselves before it went too far? No, they did nothing. They let it happen. Now, at news time, at recording time, it looked at it. I believe the detective and another one of the officers that were present have both been placed on administrative leave, and they're both under investigation. And you say to me, they're like, both? But in the video, you clearly can only see it was a detective that grabbed her and was manhandling her, and she's screaming and all that. So why would the other guy, why would the other officer, patrolman who was standing there, why would he be under investigation? Because he did nothing. Every single day, if you have a uniform, you got a polyester uniform, you got a nice shiny badge, you got a Sam Brown belt, you're like, Sam Brown belt, what is that? Ask your grandpa. Ask an old guy. Do you have a mirror in your house? You do? Okay. Do you look in that mirror every day? Do you know the difference between right and wrong? And I know about the blue line, and I know about all that. And you say, well, what was he supposed to do? Fight his partner or fight the detective? Y'all get fired, blah, blah, blah. No, before it got to that point, because you can hear this guy amping up. You can hear the detective losing his cool. What you could have done, what a patrolman could have done, is stepped in, interjected himself. Like, what do they teach you to do at domestics? Interject yourself between the two parties. Calm things down. A patrolman in uniform could have stepped in, put his hand on the detective's shoulder and said, hey, can I ask you a question? And if the detective would have like pushed him off and said, get out of here. You're not interrupting me. I mean, because I don't think that the nurse was a flight risk. I don't think she was going to escape. I don't think she was going to attack anyone in the ER. If that patrolman would have interjected himself, put his hand on it, it says, and you say, well, what did you say ask a question? Well, because when you say, can I ask you a question? I need to ask you a question. Then that puts them in the superiority because you're now the authority figure. You're the one with the answer. And, well, what question do you ask them? I don't know. You say, hey, are you absolutely sure that she has to do this? Or is there a chance that she could be right? Either way, my point is this. Any kind of interjection on the part of one of those patrolmen could have kept this from escalating. But they didn't. They just stood there and let it all go down. What are we talking about today? How does tyranny become successful? Edmond Burke. Edmond Burke said, what? What did Edmond Burke say? Well, this is a quote that's been thrown around many, 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 many times, and I've got it from brainyquotes.com. And it says this: the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. So you want to know how you have evil, you want to know how you have tyranny in your country, you do nothing. And you need to ask yourself, if I was in a similar situation, would I do nothing? Am I just going to accept it and look at the ground, look at my phone, pretend like I don't see what's going on? Do you know the difference between right and wrong? I don't know. All right, thank you for listening all the way to this point, and I've got a bonus for you guys. Since you were a good little listener and you listened all the way up to the end, the folks at Fostech Outdoors, the makers of the Echo 2 trigger, the select fire trigger, the one that goes, the go fast trigger, well, they've consented. They have decided to give you guys, the Student of the Gun listening audience, a discount. If you go to Fostech Outdoors, and the link is in the show notes, you can just click it and it'll take you directly to the Echo 2 trigger. They're not cheap. They're not free. And there's a reason for that. But if you want to save $50 off of the purchase price, use the discount code STUDENT. That's right, STUDENT. When you check out, there's a little box there, and it says discount code. You type the word student in there, click it, and it says student of the gun discount, and it subtracts $50 from your order. So you're welcome. All right, kids, that's it for today. That's the very end. And tomorrow we're going to talk about daytime home invasion in Texas and what a 60-year-old grandma did when two thugs broke into her house. Remember, you're a beginner once, a student for life.